I had the kind of unique opportunity to spend a lot of time with the doctors. I actually was able to understand the problem and then develop the solution. One of my mentors, actually, and surgeons, planted the seed early on. He said, if you want to save hundreds of lives, stay here and be a surgeon. But if you want to save millions of lives, you've got to solve a problem. Despite my knowledge and background in the medical sciences, when I would approach people in the ecosystem, I felt like I wasn't being taken seriously. As a relatively young guy, going into medtech, I was being taken seriously by the doctors, the hospital managers themselves. So I decided, okay, I'll invest in them.
Hi Jack, thank you so much for coming to the live of Founder. How's it going?
It's great, my pleasure to be here.
Pleasure's mine, so I can have a very great chat with you today. TLOAF is not about your startup, your venture, it's more about you. So what is behind startups? Because we always talk about startups, it's about humans and it's about founders. So today it's about you. Would you like to give me a picture of yourself, where you come from, how it all started?
Yes, absolutely. So I come from Newcastle upon Tyne in England. So that's the northeast of England. It's pretty much as close to Scotland as you can get. So apparently I like the cold because now I'm in Helsinki in Finland. So yeah, that's where I'm based now. How it all started was back in Newcastle. So I'm a biomedical scientist by trade and education. So that's the study of disease and diagnostics and things. When I finished that degree, did a bit of travel exploration and then returned to the medical science realm, which meant I was shadowing some cardiologists, surgeons, radiologists in hospitals in the NHS. And that's where I saw the problem that I'm now solving today. That problem is, the huge workloads, backlogs, patient wait times and things. And because I had the kind of unique opportunity to spend a lot of time with the doctors, I actually was able to understand the problem and then develop the solution and create this company where we are now. Between that and COVID, that was a move to Finland. And that's where I switched over to the dark side of tech to really try and solve this problem.
Why Finland?
My wife is Finnish, yeah, and now my daughter also. Yeah.
This was
I lost the argument.
a pretty straightforward choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
But why did you decide to take this stage of being an entrepreneur? Because it's very tough. It's a tough choice. It's very unknown. Nothing's certain. Everything is uncertain. It's navigating uncertainty every day. What was the motivation behind?
You're right. It is very uncertain and it can be scary. But I think, thankfully, in the early stages, I was naive and just purely excited, which helped. But I think the real motivation, one of my mentors, actually, and surgeons, planted the seed early on. He said, if you want to save hundreds of lives, stay here and be a surgeon. But if you want to save millions of lives, you've got to solve a problem, right? So that planted the seed back in the day. And like I said, between that and really getting to understand a specific problem and market opportunity, that's when I said, okay, I should actually make the switch here and really impact lives on a bigger scale.
But when you started, because when I started mine, I was very, very excited, my first startup. But at the same time, that the risk is there, the failure is there, everything must be done. So you don't have any wage, you don't have anything. Just, you need to make everything working. So how was the feeling? How was your feeling in the very beginning?
Yeah, I think I can echo yours there. Incredibly excited and motivated to dive in. But there are risks that come with it, risks to the family as well. So I actually went and spoke to my wife and said, okay, I think today is the day where I'm going to leave work and really jump on this full time. And I said, but, you have to understand the risks to the family and, going down to one income and things. And she said, Jack, you've been smiling the whole time you've told me this. I think it's the right decision.
That's the point. It's very much, there are founders that do not have that's the day. They just go with the flow. Okay, and one day you are an entrepreneur. But there are others that really said, okay, I'm starting from today, and that's where I'm going to. But how it affected your life in terms of daily life?
In terms of daily life, Well, of course, there is that pressure. I've made this decision, I've took this risk, so there is a lot of kind of pressure and responsibility on you to turn it into something. The more you do, I mean, well, you'll know yourself, Max. Like every day, you learn so much more by mistakes as being a founder as well than you would in any other field, I believe. So that's definitely the positive effect. I've become a lot more effective, a lot more useful at getting rid of the useless tasks or the noise, as I call it. Negatively, of course, you'll also know that it's like having another baby, right? It's really relying on you for a long time. So it takes a lot of care and a lot of upkeep. So managing time is a big challenge, and it's ongoing. We get better, but it's ongoing.
Yeah, it's managing another baby. That's true. It's so true. What were the initial struggles? Where do you find the most difficult part when you start?
It was great question. I think day one, I liken it to writer's block. This kind of, you've got a blank page in front of you, and because it's your decision, you have to write the first line and dictate where this is going to go. So that was a bit kind of immobilizing at first. Like, there's so much things to do. Where do you even start? But after that, I think one of the biggest challenges was despite my knowledge and background in the medical sciences, when I would approach people in the ecosystem, like investors or accelerators, that kind of thing, I felt like I wasn't being taken seriously. As a relatively young guy, going into med tech without an MD or a doctor, Jack Parker, I feel like that was a bit of a barrier for a long time. And the people that I was being taken seriously by were the doctors, the hospital managers themselves. So I decided, okay, I'll invest in them and those relationships, because ultimately they are the customers, the users, the buyers. And that turned out well, but that was a challenge at first.
Yeah, at the very beginning, you very much need to understand where to focus your energy, because otherwise you do everything as I did, but it's not that effective. It's not that productive. But you already talked about a bit your how it affects your private life. In what you day by day now, what you like the most?
I think speaking to or engaging with such a wide variety of people, like I'll meet people like yourself today, Max, then I'll meet somebody like, a doctor, a surgeon, a patient, a fellow founder, an investor, the kind of variety, which can be a lot at times, to kind of switch hats all the time. But it is really energizing, at least for me. It's really energizing. So I really like that. And I think coming to the office, that was a challenge in COVID, not being able to come to the office, because one of my favorite things is coming into it with a team that if I come with a problem at the start of the day, I say, hey guys, you know what I said yesterday? Actually, it's wrong. We need to do this now. Their response is, okay, let's go. It's that real kind of entrepreneurial mindset of let's solve rather than let's complain or, assess the problem.
Do you like during COVID we've been all forced to work from home? For example, me personally, I don't like. I don't find working from home very productive, but many people they do. What's your take here? Do you prefer going to the office, for example, or stay home?
Yeah, 100% in the office. I'm like yourself. I'm not very productive at home. Too many distractions, and with a literal baby as well, that's a particularly big distraction. So, yeah, I come to the office.
Have you ever thought I'm the most unqualified founder? I won't get there. What am I doing?
Yeah, kind of linked to what I said earlier with not being taken seriously at the point of the first pivot. So I knew the problem, and we were kind of came up with an idea. Hey, maybe this could solve it. And then we put in so much work to try and find that kind of product market fit. And when you realize, actually, no, this is wrong, and having to accept that yourself, that was okay, all of this work has been for nothing. I'm the dumbest person in the world. Why did I even try? But then, thankfully, one of our advisors told me, you realize what it takes to understand that is the wrong decision. All of that learning and knowledge that you did is, it's certainly doesn't make you dumb. It makes you the most informed person to make that choice and that realization. So, but I definitely felt that in the moment. Yeah.
I mean, but it's not easy to find the right way. At the very beginning, even if you master the problem, if you master technology, the problem that lies behind is not that simple to fix. It's very complicated, in my opinion, to define. It's and define the problem very well, there is no way you can find the right solution to fix it. So it's pretty much it's not that simple. So of course you get depressed. You get, oh my god, what am I doing? I'm spending so much time. But for example, when I talk to founders, I ask them when they realize that maybe it's time to pivot, and if they had the courage to pivot. Is this something that you come across sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, I had direct experience of that. Put so much work into that first idea, and then realized really that the real dumb thing would be to carry on with this. We really need to do quite a sharp pivot here, and it is tough. Like I said, it feels like it's wasted time, wasted effort, and I think that courage is not. It's not like accepting the feedback, or it's not accepting people telling you that it's the wrong idea at the moment. It's accepting it to yourself, I would say, because at least me, I'm my own worst critic or harshest critic. And I think that was what really took courage to accept to myself.
That's right. Sometimes we do not accept that we are wrong. We were wrong. Many founders, and this happened to me as well. You take this like failure, okay? So what I've done so much. It's more natural. It's naturally for you go ahead, and if you fail. Then starting re-engineering everything from the very beginning.
Yeah, it's like this concept of sunken costs, I think it's called. Like it feels far more expensive a decision to come away from something you've invested in already. But yeah, absolutely necessary, and it takes courage.
You must have a lot of motivation. Founders without motivation and a very high level of resilience, there is very little way to go. So how do you keep you motivated?
Yeah, privileged to be working on something that literally impacts people's lives. And I know it sounds cliche. I mean, I'm making an AI tool for imaging, but the outcome is actually saving lives or helping doctors save lives. So that in itself is a motivation. But what I do is I actually make a point of going to speak to patients and public who this will actually impact. And that I get my team involved and all the advisors and everything involved, just so we realize that, this work is really for the person at the end of it.
Do you ever think about failure?
It's actually on the wall in the office. We have a simple line. I know it's very cliche, but it's literally on the wall. It's next door, but I would show you otherwise. That says, "You only fail when you stop trying." It's simple as that.
Comes very, very, very strongly with founders when they fundraise. For example, in EquityMatch, we help them to fundraise. And what I tell them is the day when you fail is the day when you stop, right? So maybe the day after, of course, it's very difficult. Every day say, okay, tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow will be better. But that tomorrow will never come. So that's the point. When you stop, 100% won't come anymore.
Correct.
That's the point. But that's why resilience is so important. I mean, you need to be focused, resilient, and the level of motivation has been so high that you just go until the last. I met a founder, I can't remember the name, and this guy was almost bankrupt. Actually, he was in Slush last year.
Okay.
And he was on the stage, and literally he was bankrupted. He was taking the company into liquidation, and the father told him, "You've done so much. Why do you want to give up?" So he tried again. He got few thousands from an angel, and he built a billion company.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
like you said, that close to giving up. Yeah. But what I will say about that, you mentioned that, the founder has to have such resilience to tell themselves every day, tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. But what I would say is you do need somebody else around you. You sometimes you can't do it all yourself, and whether that be a life partner or an angel or an advisor or a team member, it's so important to have that kind of support network.
I mean, what do? You are married, I suppose. Anyway, you have a partner, you have a kid. What do you like to do in your spare time?
What is spare time? Sorry.
When you have nothing to do.
Yeah.
Which is very rare. But outside working, what do you like to do?
Yeah, I think very lucky to live here in Finland, where there's lots of nature around and it's very accessible. So any opportunity, even if it's on the trip home, I'll kind of walk through the forest or something, or like now at this time of year, foraging in the forest, so for mushrooms and berries and that kind of stuff. That's really, leave the phone, turn everything off, leave the bag in the car, kind of thing, and just really get out there. That helps.
I mean, do you participate in tech events? I mean, are you very much involved in the tech ecosystem, or you stay outside?
Sometimes I do. I mean, my co-founder, Only, the CTO, he attends them more so. I've been to a few recently, like you mentioned, Slush. We'd be going to the next Slush and the Nordeep deep tech event here in Finland. I was at that one. Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about it? Do you think founders are doing enough? There is a very strong say in the tech community. Okay, we do this because we want to change the world for a better place to be. And everyone say the same, but are we doing enough?
Interesting question. Okay, there's a little anecdote here. A few founders I speak to, also in the tech world, I hear it a lot that it's very difficult to find developers, data scientists, that kind of thing. And it's puzzling because we've had the opposite problem. It's been very easy and a lot of applicants and things. So bear with me here. In hindsight, I asked some of the applicants, hundreds of applicants for one of our roles, and I asked, why us? And they said, I'm kind of tired of working just project to project. I kind of want to do something that makes an impact on the world. I said, okay. And he said, working with a company like yourselves who, like I said, literally impacts people's lives. That's why I'm here. And that's why the list of people were also there. So in the tech ecosystem, I think we have the technology nowadays to solve a lot of our biggest problems, our global problems. But I do think a lot more could be done on those big problems. So, I mean, I'm not going to name industries, but yeah, we have the tools, we have the people, we have the skills to do it. So I think there should be more focus on the most important issue.
There've been pretty few scandals when it comes to venture capital in the last period. But do you think venture capital is driven too much by money now and a little driven by really real motivation to do something great for this?
I'm glad you asked this. Actually, this is kind of something I've given a lot of thought to lately. There are these impact funds. There's the Upright project here in Finland, which actually assesses the impact level, the net impact level of a company, and it's targeted at investors so that they can actually make conscious choices. And it's interesting because it shines a spotlight on venture capitalists to really show their impact level. So you have to opt in to show the impact of their portfolio. And not many people do. So there's one insight for you. But on my reflection, I think we also need to understand what venture capital is. I think it's on the innovators to make the real impact in the world. Venture capital is just a financing vehicle, in my opinion. And I think as founders, we need to accept that VCs need to make money in return to their LPs, and it's just one player in the ecosystem. I think we need to deconstruct this model that VCs have all the answers and everything we need. I think most of the onus should be on innovators to change the world.
As you say, it's the system behind, because in any way you're opening your fund, you need to contribute. You have your LP contributing, and that it must one day this fund, which is 5-10 years time, it must close at the moment, turn back with some gain at least. So that's why they push so much on any form of exit improvement and exponential growth. But you say something very right. That's a part of the industry, it's not the industry. So it's just the financial engine for now. Sometimes you get even some knowledge, but just a part of it. If you can sit with world leaders today, sitting in a round table, would you like to say to them that, come on, let's fix this because it's just a nightmare?
Yeah, I think very close to my heart is that the healthcare disparities. I mean, worldwide, of course, access to healthcare worldwide, but even in our backyards, And my biggest frustration, what I would put directly to them, if I could get them in a room, is this. This is not some big secret or a big surprise. This. So why aren't we addressing it? And if they come back and say, well, return on investment, they have to think like that. They have to kind of almost treat a country as a business. But my come back to that would be the return on investment in public healthcare. So investing in public health is astronomical. So, I'd really like to back them into a corner and say, come on, what's the real reason?
That's true. I mean, but it comes to politics, and that's a totally different story. It's very, very complicated. Politicians are how they are. Are you concerned about climate change?
Yeah, of course. I mean, how can you not be? I've actually experienced it myself. So I've been in areas of drought and wildfire, in typhoons. Also, it's hard to deny it when you're standing in the middle of it. But again, I think solutions. I have this kind of this ethos that it's far easier to make a change. Especially if we're talking about politicians and policy, it's far easier to make a change if I'm coming at them with a solution, rather than expecting the politicians to come up with a solution. I think that we need to kind of think in that way rather. So again, I think the innovators have the ability to really make a change there, and hopefully we're not out of time.
But are you positive? I mean, we are, as an entrepreneur, we are positive by definition. But 2030, forget, there is no way it can happen. No. Where do you see? I mean, do you see this world really fix this problem?
I do. You have to be optimistic. You can't have an alternative. No is not an answer, right? I believe, at least, and I do believe innovation is the only solution to do that. We can't try and slightly alter current practices or try and even improve, with minor iterations of current practices. There has to be overhaul, and that comes from innovation.
Which are the things, any person as well, that really touch you and you can fight for to the end?
I like a cause. I think, something I've been involved with for a while is immigration and asylum seekers. So I worked with the British Red Cross and now doing some with the Finnish Red Cross, about integrating recent immigrants into society. I think one of the most frustrating things I hear in the media is that migrants just want to be a drain on society and take from welfare. I mean, 100% of the people I've met want to be a self-standing person and contribute to society. 100%. If they get given the choice, they would want to contribute to society. But the barriers that are there for them, this kind of marginalization, racism, a big one. But even just the more logistical things like bureaucracy and where to go to the office. Where is the office? How do I get in? Like small things like that. So that's the work that the Red Cross does and that I help out with a bit, is kind of helping recent migrants navigate the systems to really integrate into society and start contributing.
You are an expat, as I am. I live in London. I'm Italian. And how do you feel yourself? I like sometimes to ask, because there are people who really find themselves very well at the very beginning. There are others that really find themselves totally displaced. Finland is a beautiful country. I love it. How do you find yourself there? You have your wife. She's Finnish, so it probably helps. But you like to be there? Do you find the community good?
I do now, yes. When I first arrived, I felt more displaced. Like you're correct. Having my wife was a big help. You have a connection to the society then. But she had also been out of the country for 4 years. So it was like going back to a foreign country in a way. Plus it was COVID, so people weren't mixing and things. But the Finns themselves, I love the culture now, but it was difficult to understand at first. I was expecting it's in Europe, it won't be so different, but it really is. It really is. It took a while to understand the people and to be able to connect with the people, but thankfully now I do.
I find them very polite, very, very polite. And my shock was wake up in the morning, 9 o'clock, and was black. I said, maybe the curtains are not open. So actually, they're open. Totally black. So, wow. It will be difficult for me to stay here for this week. Anyway.
There's a great anecdote I have about Finns. Like during COVID, they brought in this rule, no more than 2 meters close. Like you have to be 2 meters apart. And Finns asked, why stand so close? 5 meters apart. So, me listening, if you come to Finland, look at a bus stop. You'll see a line of people 5 meters apart.
It's true. But at the same time, they are very reserved, even more than English. In the English, I found the English very reserved coming from Italy. But they had their way to do it, which is I like. I mean, I always enjoy time with them. Always, living is a different story. Which is the best book and author in your life ever read?
Best book. So it's by Dr. Kalaniti, if I'm pronouncing that right. It's When Breath Becomes Air. So he was a neurosurgeon and then became himself a terminal cancer patient. So he basically talks about the human condition and going from being, saving lives to actually, proceeding right through to death. So I think that really shines a light on what's important in life. That was a hard hitter, that book.
Do you watch movie?
Yes, when I can. What's it called? Wes Anderson's movies, they're also good, like Grand Budapest Hotel.
Do you have any favorite actor?
Ralph Fiennes. So people will know him as Voldemort, but he's got some other roles as well.
The best lesson that life gave to you up to date?
This is one that I'm trying to teach my daughter now, as young as she is. That imagination is everything. It's a problem solver. It's a solution finder. You can create your own fun. You can support people with it. Behind all of it, I believe, is imagination. I think that's the best tool you can equip yourself with.
I mean, when I started working, I was taking everything extremely too seriously. Too much. Too much. So the more I go, it's more really understand. You must take the life laughing in somehow, smiling. Yes, taking stuff seriously, but not too much.
Yeah.
Because in the end of the day, there is not that much you can do outside what you're already doing. But I was taking everything. So I was ruined by always trying to fix everything to the perfect point. When one day I said, but what I'm doing, it doesn't change anything. It says it's not changing anything. I'm just making my life miserable. So I must stop. So I'm trying to do this, and I'm trying to keep myself having my childhood inside very, very present.
Do you find yourself having a mindset of, if somebody comes to you perhaps with a personal problem, or they just want to vent, do you find yourself coming up with a fix?
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes that is the last thing that the person wants. I found that, trying to change that, like, not everything just needs to be fixed. Sometimes you just need to hear people out.
There are so many lessons in life, but we try to get the main one and learn from that and move forward. What's your greatest wish?
That my daughter grows up in a world where, climate change is being solved. We are making positive impacts towards it. And I think that having her grow up in a world where there are more discoveries rather than extinctions, really going in the right direction.
If I can ask you to recommend something to the founders watching this podcast, what would you say to them?
Fail fast. Fail fast. If you found your problem, you found the market opportunity, don't build a product until you really understand that opportunity. And then when you do start to build, fail fast.
Jack, thank you so much for coming to Life of Founder. It's been an absolute
Thanks, Max.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, Max.